But I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, a young man, probably about 20, 21 years old, and this is not part of a church. And I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "I'm surviving." It was almost word for word that somebody said today to me as well when I asked them. And that's the thing. I really believe, maybe I'm just crazy, but I don't believe that that's God's intent for our life, is just simply to survive, simply to endure. I truly believe that God wants us to enjoy this life that he has given us and enjoy all the blessings that he has bestowed upon us. And one of the biggest ways we can do that is, one of the foundations of that enjoyment is friendship, right? Is relationship. That you think about what friendship does, it multiplies our joy, doesn't it? If you have something, if you see a good movie or eat a good meal or anything, like have a great experience, it's just something more special. It multiplies the joy if we have somebody to share that experience with. It also divides the pain as well. So if you're going through a hard time, you've got a friend, that person can help shoulder that hurt, shoulder that pain, shoulder that struggle with you. So the blessing of just having friendship. And here's the thing too, is you can have all the money in the world. You can have all the achievements in the world. You can experience pleasure and everything. But man, if your relationship stinks, life's going to stink. And on the other hand, if you live in a box in the woods, but you have great friends, you're a rich man or you're a rich woman with the things that really, really matter in life. I came across something that a middle school teacher asked her kids to describe what friendship is, given a definition of a friend. Said, give some imaginative definition of that. Here's what they said. A friend is a pair of open arms in a society of armless people. A friend is a warm blanket on a cold and frosty night. A friend is a mug of hot coffee on a damp, cloudy day. A friend is a beautiful orchard in the middle of the desert. A friend is a hot bath after you've walked 20 miles on a dusty road. I think those are pretty good. We said the first time we did this, we're in a series on relationships, really, really important. If we miss this, we miss everything. And we talked about that loneliness is epidemic in our country right now. That over 50% in every single age group, people said they were lonely. Now that skyrockets with people that are in their teens or 20s, that goes up to 75%. But here's the thing, God has a lot to say about loneliness. In fact, he said this in the second chapter of the Bible. He said, it is not good for man to be alone. It's not good for us to be alone. In fact, God, you understand that God does not like loneliness. It is not part of God's plan for your life. If you are a lonely person, that is not God's will for your life. In fact, the opposite is God's plan for your life. God created you for a relationship, first with him and also with other people. That's why you're on this earth. Everything else is just gravy on the potatoes, right? And so we not only need that for our enjoyment, but also for our health. Dr. Dean Omish, who is a New York Times best-selling author and a world-renowned physician, when he was talking about relationships and friendship and love, this is what he says about it. I am not aware of any other factor in medicine, not diet, not smoking, not exercise, not stress, not genetics, not drugs, not surgery, that has a greater impact on our quality of life, incidence of illness, and premature death from all causes. We will live longer when we have relationships, and we will enjoy it a whole lot more when we do as well. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to be talking about 5 different stages of friendship. But before we do that, I want to talk about something that I've never heard anybody ever talk about. And I've never read about it. I've never seen anything. But there's some types of friendship that I think are really important in our life that we understand. And they're a blessing that we might not understand it. And I think to be more aware of these things is a good thing. And the first is a one and done relationship. And I'm not talking about a one night stand. I'm talking about where God puts a person in our life, that there's a divine appointment that God puts our life, intersects it with another person. It's only one time in our entire life, but we're better or they're better or hopefully both are better because of that relationship, that one-time encounter. In fact, I am standing before you right now because of a one-time encounter with a young lady that just at a conference, she told me what Jesus has done in her life. life, and I'm like, I want some of that. And I hope I've paid that forward with hundreds of other people that I've talked to about what God has done in my life as well. But I've never saw that girl before. I've never seen her since. If she walked in the place, I wouldn't even know. That one-time encounter changed my life. I think about other things that people have done, like just that it launched me into different ministries because of just a one-time encounter. An instance of this would be in college. I happened to sit next to a guy that I'd never sat with before, and I never sat with again. But he told me about a Christian camp that he worked at in Colorado the previous summer, and something percolated in my heart. And I worked there for 2 summers, saw hundreds of kids come to faith in Christ, all because of a divine appointment that God had set up for us. And it can be just a fun thing too that God does. I remember one time that my daughter Cassie and I, we were at the Outer Banks, and we were looking at the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, and all of a sudden this guy came up to him, never seen him before, and he says this. He just comes up and he goes, I just went horseback riding. Not hello, not anything like that, just straight out, boom, says that. And then he tells me the directions on that. He goes, it's right down here about 2 miles over on the left. You can't miss it. And I'm, okay, thank you. Have a good day. And he just walks on as if he was, a messenger that was supposed to give me that message and things. So I looked at Cassie and said, you want to do that? She said, I'd love to do that. So we go down there, and I said, do you take walk-ins? She said, we never take walk-ins, but we happen to have 2 places right now available, and we leave in 15 minutes. And I had one of the best times of my life there. And I believe it all was because God gave this person to come up, have a moment like that. Sometimes it's information. Sometimes it's encouragement. Sometimes it's, I don't know what it is, but just those moments, those encounters that God has set up for you. And I really believe he does this all the time if we just keep aware of that. Another thing that has been a blessing in my life, huge blessing, is cross-generational relationships. I have been blessed to have friends my same age or around my same age, but I've also been blessed to have relationships with people older and younger than me. And I'm talking a lot older or a lot younger than me. There was when I grew up and I really believe that as we look at an older generation, and God's always brought older people into my life that have been a blessing there. I did not have grandparents when I was growing up. My grandparents died before I was born because my parents had me way, way, way later in life. But there were 2, God provided a next door neighbor, a Papo and Mama was what I called them. And just having that relationship with those people of a different generation was so powerful. There was also Mrs. Lincoln who lived across the street. Now, Mrs. Lincoln, her daughter had a high position in the government and would travel all over, and she would ask me to stay with her mom while she was gone. Now, she was 96 years old at the time. She lived to be 103, and for those years, I'd go over there about 8 o'clock at night, and we'd talk until it was time for her to go to bed, and then she was okay through there. But I loved spending time with this lady. She was so incredibly interesting that she was good friends. Oh, first of all, her husband was a general, and her son was, I think, either a 2 or 3 star general, and she was direct descendant, I believe, from Abraham Lincoln himself. And just the story she told, she was good friends with Amelia Earhart and Charles Lindbergh. In fact, she was one of the people that were waving at Amelia Earhart as she goes off on the last voyage. I remember one time she's telling me about a basketball team that she was on at the turn of the century. And I'm talking the 1800s to the 1900s. And she told me this. She said, guys would come from all over the county to watch us play because we played in our bloomers and you could see our ankles. I thought, can you imagine those guys being transported into a beach volleyball game right then? Wouldn't they? They would spontaneously combust, I believe. But I just love this. And my mentor is 23 years older than me. And just how he's poured in my life. Here's what I love. We can learn from their experience and their life. There's so much wisdom in their life experience. We can learn from their mistakes. We can learn from their victories. We can learn from all that. I thank God for the people in my life who have been older. But also, I've had the opportunity to have people who are younger than me, a generation younger than me that I've tried to pour into. I've always had young men that I've mentored and things. And and also just love hanging around our youth group. I was a youth pastor before, and young adults and things, because they keep you young. One thing I love about Crossroads is I love it's truly a multi-generational church. It seems like most churches are either really young, really old, or just in between. And I love it that we have people from all generations, because we need each other. Every single generation really needs each other. And I believe that every single person hearing my voice, you online or in here, we need to have three different types of people in our life. We need a Paul, a Timothy, and a Barnabas, or the female version of that. And a Paul is somebody that's older, that's further along in the faith, further along in life, that is pouring into you. You need a Timothy, somebody that you are pouring into, that you're pouring life, that you're pouring your faith into somebody. And we need a Barnabas, and that's somebody who just is always going to be an encouragement for us, always going to be encouraging our faith. We need those. If you don't have those people, pray for that. Look for those people in your life, because they're so crucial to life. And the other is this: the pick right back up friends. And these are the people, I love this, and you've had these friends where maybe because of distance or because of other circumstances, you don't get to see those people very often. Maybe you see them every few years, or maybe even you haven't seen them for decades. But the moment you get back with them, it's like you never left. It's like you just pick back up exactly where you were before. A roommate from college came a couple weeks ago, and it was just, I hadn't seen him in a couple decades, and it was just like, again, boom, like we'd never missed. There was when I was in Oklahoma, there was a young man that was in my first youth group there that we got together, and again, boom, like we'd never missed. There was a person that I went to seminary with, boom, got together. You know those types of people, and these are different relationships that are blessings in life, and we need to be aware of those. But now let's go on to 5 stages of relationship. And go ahead and throw that up there if you would. And the first thing is stranger. You know, there's somebody you just see on the side of the road, acquaintance. Then you go casual friend, a close friend, and then the core friends. And what I want you to notice is, first of all, that group gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as the friendships get tighter. And the other thing is that the closer you get to that middle, that close and core group, those are people that have the most influence on you, that they have a big impact on your life. And we need to be aware of all those. And I'm going to be talking just about, like, one thing about the casual friends. Those are the result of our circumstances. A casual friend you didn't have much of a choice in. Those are the people that you work with. Those are the people that you go to school with. Those are the people that you're a soccer mom or a soccer dad with, or you go to the gym with, or even go to church with, or anything like that. Didn't have as much of a choice in that. But then there's the close friends. Those are the result of our choices. And we better be really careful on who those friends are. In fact, the Bible makes this clear. Look at Proverbs 12:26. It says this: a righteous person is cautious in their friendships. In other words, we should choose our friends wisely. We should be choosy. We should be selective on who we allow to be close to us. And the reason is this. First of all, it's because we can't be friends with everybody. Even if we want to, we can't be friends with everybody. The second thing is that our friends will make or break us. And the third thing is we will end up going where our friends are going. I learned this one time when I had just become a Christian at a camp in Colorado, at a Young Life camp. And a few days later, what they did is they took us to the base of a mountain, about a 13,000-foot mountain, and said, all right, here's what the plan for today. You can either stay in the bus all day long, or you can go up on the and hike the mountain. Well, people did 2 different groups, right? But I saw there was one young lady by the name of Dawn. Dawn was a pretty large young lady. That plays into this. And her friends, she had 2 different groups of friends. And there was one group of friends saying, come on, Dawn, just stay here. We're going to have a blast. We're going to stay here. Don't climb the mountain. Just stay here with us. And the other group was going, come on, Dawn, you can come with us. We're going to make it to the top. We're going to make sure you make it to the top. Come with us. And she's in there. She's at that crossroads moment, and she doesn't know which one, and she chooses going up the mountains with her friends. And I still remember this because I remember walking up there, and we took some times to breaks, and all of a sudden you'd hear her friends. Suddenly, I hear over the horizon would come her friends going, "Come on, Don, you're doing great, man. You're doing super. Keep it up. Keep it up. You're doing fantastic." And I'll never forget when we got to the top of the mountain, and man, you talk about spectacular. It was a 3 360 view, and you saw peaks and valleys, and it was just gorgeous. And I'm being caught up in that, and all of a sudden I hear this applause, and started with a few people, and then suddenly everybody's applauding. And here comes Dawn with all her peeps, right? And they're still encouraging. They're still encouraging, slapping her on the back and everything, and everybody is just encouraging. And I'll never forget when she got to the top, and she just looks around, and the look on her face. There was so much joy. There was pride in there. There was just this excitement that she had made it to the top, and I'll never forget that look. And then we walked down the mountain, and I remember her friends, and her friends were still in the bus, and they were the most bored people I've ever seen in my life. No smiles on their faces. And I thought, here's a story. Here's a story that we are, whether you make it to the top in life, or whether you stay at the bottom, is going to depend a lot on who you hang around with. Who we hang around with is massive on where we end up in life. In fact, who you hang around with will either draw you closer to God's purpose for your life or take you further away from God's purpose for your life. Who you date will either take you closer to God's purpose for your life or take you away from God's purpose in your life. I remember when Crossroads first started, in the first couple years, there were two beautiful, beautiful young ladies, and each of them were getting on fire for God. I mean, God was working in their life, and they're getting on fire. And both of those young ladies were dating guys that were not Christians and wanted nothing to do with it. And I remember especially talking to one girl, and she knows she's at a crossroads, and she knows she's there, and she knows it's like this. She said, it's like Jesus is walking up one mountain, and he's walking down another thing over here. And she said, I can't be both. I've got to choose one or the other. I've got to either go with him or I've got to go with Jesus. I can't be in both worlds at that. And so I remember her coming back to me and saying, I broke up. We broke up today. And I remember, this is not an easy thing because they were literally the class couple at their high school. They'd been together for several years. But I tell you, if you graphed that girl's relationship with God, it went like this. And I thought it was so beautiful that only a couple months later, she met the young man that was a strong man of God, and she's married to now for 20 some years, and has some kids, and a wonderful ministry with young ladies in another state. There's another lady that she chose the other way, that she chose the dude. And if you charted her, it would go like this. Her faith went like this. But here's the great thing. About halfway down, she realized, this is stupid. It's killing my faith. And she also broke up. And again, at that moment, I just watched her do this. And again, just a few months later, she met the person who she is now married to, a strong man of God. And she also has an incredible ministry in this area. And again, the Bible says this. If you want to grow in wisdom, spend time with the wise, walk with the wicked, and you'll eventually become just like them. And maybe that's where we get the phrase, it is hard to soar with eagles if you walk around with turkeys, right? And I love this, that Jesus had friends at every single one of these areas. Go ahead and throw that up there if you would. Jesus loved everybody. He fed 5,000. He trained 120. He discipled Simon and Andrew, Judas and John, James and Bartholomew, Thomas, Philip and Matthew. He only discipled 12, but he mentored 3. And that's Peter, James, and John. I don't know if you know this, but only Peter, James, and John saw the transformation of Jesus. Only Peter, James, and John were there when Jairus' daughter raised from the dead. Only Peter, James, and John were in the inner circle in the Garden of Gethsemane. And you go, wait a second, was Jesus playing favorites? Yep, he was. He couldn't be with everybody all the time, and he poured into 3 guys because of this. They were going to have the most responsibility, and they were going to have the biggest impact. And we see that his plan worked. Because in the book of Galatians, Paul talked about the 3 pillars of the faith in Jerusalem. And who do you think they were? Peter, James, and John. As he poured into them, and as he poured into the 12, that's what happened. But Jesus had relationships in every single one of those. And here's something too, just essential qualities of great friendships. And we're just going to be talking just even about 1 or 2 of those today. And we're going to look at that in another time. But the first thing is great friends help bring their friends closer to Jesus. And isn't that what Jesus did with his friends? I mean, I love that he hung out with the guys and he did fun things and wonderful things. But there was a plan that he had. He wanted his friends to draw closer to the Father. He wanted to introduce them to the Father and draw them closer to the Father, and that's what he did. You take a look at the guys, the paralytic, and remember the 4 friends that he had, and they couldn't find a way in at first, so they climbed up on the roof and tore a hole in the roof. And the goal was they wanted their friend to come to the feet of Jesus. And so and I'll say this, with all my heart, that my friends, I'll say one of the goals of my friendship is I want them to come closer to God. I want, because they're my friend, I want, because you're my friends, that you to be closer to God than if I wasn't your friend. And I'd like to be closer to God because I'm your friend as well, for the friends in my life. I think that's something that is so incredibly important for both of those. And let me ask you this question. Who are your 4? Because if this guy, the paralytic, did not have the right 4, he'd have never been healed. He'd have never had his sins forgiven. But the fact that he chose the right friends, they were able to bring him to Jesus. Who are your 4? Who are people that surround you so much in love for God that they want to take you closer to God? They invite you places. They do things for you. They inspire you. They challenge you in your faith. I mean, those are the people who are your 4. If you don't have those, again, pray to God for those 4. Invest in some relationships and things. And here's the question, too. Are you being that friend? Are you being that kind of friend? Are you praying for your friends? Are you encouraging your friends in the faith? Are you challenging your friends in the faith? Are you being that kind of person to them? And really the next one is you need to choose friends who are encouraging. There's 2 different kinds of people in the world. That's VDPs and VIPs. The VDPs are very draining people. You know who I'm talking about. There's people like that. And don't look at them now. That probably wouldn't be a good idea. But there's people that just drain you in relationship. And there's VIPs. These are very inspirational people. These are people that build you up. You're a stronger man or woman of God. You're a stronger believer because you hang around those. And the thing is, you need to have more VIPs than VDPs, or you're just going to get drained. You're going to get worn out. We need people both. We need the VIPs in our life. 1 Thessalonians says this: encourage one another and build each other up. And this verse isn't just talking about compliments. Thank God for compliments. We need compliments, don't we? We need compliments, but compliments are very surface usually. They're the thing of, man, you look great today. You look that nice dress. You did that project well. Thank God for those because they do build us up. But the thing that's even far more important, it doesn't say just compliment each other. It says encourage each other. And encouragement is so much deeper than a compliment. Here's what the dictionary defines encouragement. It says this: it's the action of giving someone support, confidence, or hope. I like that. It's the act of giving someone support, confidence, or hope. I like another definition even better, and that's to fill the heart. Isn't that awesome? When you encourage someone, what you're doing is you're giving them hope, you're giving them confidence, and you're filling their heart. Now, I think close and core friends, something they will do is they will confront you if you need to be confronted. They will challenge you if you need to be challenged. They will do those things because that's part of friendship as well. But I hope that your friends are encouraging you as a person and as a believer. And here's the thing too is, are we being that for the people around us? For especially our close and our core friends? Are we filling their hearts? Are we filling the hearts of our spouse? Are we filling the heart of our children? Are we filling the heart of our parents? It goes 2 ways there. Are we filling the heart of the people that God has put around us? Or are we just doing our own thing? And I think the big reason a lot of people that feel lonely is because they don't have anybody in their life that is really, truly filling their heart. There's a man by the name of Jonathan, a person who was a dear friend of David. If you want to know how to do friendship, look at Jonathan and David because they're incredible at it. And there's 2 times I want to look at it in David's life, that both of them were 2 of the hardest times of his life. And one time the Bible says this, that David strengthened himself in the Lord. And there are times that we just have to strengthen ourselves in the Lord. There are times that nobody else can do it for us. Our pastor can't do it. Our youth pastor, our mama, our daddy, anybody cannot strengthen us in the Lord in the way that we have to strengthen ourselves. And I pray every day of our life that we strengthen ourselves in the Lord. But also, look at this, what happened with Jonathan one time at one of the lowest moments in David's life. While David was in Horish in the desert of Ziph, he learned that Saul had come out to take his life. I mean, imagine that. You've got a contract. All this group of people are absolutely trying to kill you. And Saul's son, Jonathan, the person that's trying to kill him, his son, went to David at Horish and helped him find strength in God. I am so thankful for my friends who help me find strength in God. I'm so thankful for my friends who pray for me, my friends who encourage me, my friends who challenge me, my friends who make me want to pray more, my friends who make me want to worship in a deeper way, people who I see just loving God in a way I want to love God. I'm so thankful for those people in my life. And it's not just that they've inspired me in that, in my faith. I mean, there's so many people, like I talked about my mentor. And I remember one time when we were on a mission trip together, and we're running a beach. We have a couple of hours, and we're running a beach in Brazil. And I was in my late 20s. He was 50 years old. And for me, when I'm in my 20s, and maybe some of you can relate to 20-year-olds, but when somebody's 50 years old, it's like they have one foot in the grave and one foot on a banana peel. You know what I'm talking about? It just seemed like, and he was running and keeping up good pace. And I'm like, man, when I get 50, I want to still be running. I want to still be running. And you know what this guy does now? He does one push-up for every year of his life, every day of his life, at one time. So he's doing 83 push-ups and 83 crunches every day of his life. What do you think I want to do? I mean, that's inspiring. Or I see somebody that I see a couple that are holding hands in their in their 80s that are at the mall. That inspires me. I'm going, God, I want to be holding Sylvia's hand when I'm in my 80s. I want to be doing that. We can inspire each other. We can be encouraging each other. Johnny Appleseed, for 5 states, he just planted seeds and planted seeds and planted seeds and planted seeds. And that's what we can do in each other's lives. That we can plant seeds of friendship, plant seeds of love, plant seeds of encouragement. We can pour life into other people, especially our close friends and our core friends. And here I've got a homework assignment I want you to do. I want you to, later today, sometime this week, just get aside and think about who are your close friends and who are your core friends. And just be aware of that. Because sometimes we may not even appreciate those people that God has put around us in those capacities. Maybe it's that we've lost track. Maybe there are some people that you'd like to be in there that aren't in there. Maybe some people that aren't in there that are in there that you wouldn't like in there. But whatever it is, to just be grateful for those, to reach out again and maybe have a relationship again with some of those people. Encourage that relationship. But who are those people? Be aware of those core groups. Be aware of what God's wanting to do every day in your life to bring divine appointments with that person, that person in line, that person at the gym, the waiter or waitress, the person there. I love it because, man, I could speak weeks on just divine appointments that God has done in my life. Be aware of those things. Be aware of cross-generational relationships. Have a Timothy in your life. Have a Paul in your life. Have a Barnabas in your life, or the female versions of those. But here's the big thing is that we pour life and we pour relationship and we pour heart into other people's heart.